Hello everyone, it's Isaac here, back with another video. In today's video, I'd like to discuss something that is a pretty big issue for Nitro-type YouTubers, and just pretty much YouTubers in general, and that is lag when you're recording. I can totally understand, maybe you don't have the highest end system available, and your computer just lags when you record. But there are some things you can do to reduce that lag. Some of these points will be taken from my guide on how to reduce lag when you're playing Nitro-type, but the recorder we're using today is OBS, so if you don't use OBS, some of this advice will not apply to you. I recommend getting OBS because there's so many different settings you can change. It's all free, you don't have to worry about having to pay a monthly subscription to use the video service. It's just completely free. It's really awesome. But we're going to get right into it. The first thing I've noticed, for whatever reason, a whole bunch of YouTubers, especially ones with lower end computers like Chromebooks and maybe lower end MacBooks and stuff like that, and just generic Windows computers, have a whole bunch of tabs open. Oh my gosh, Penguin Typer's old videos, he would have 15 tabs open up here. Some other YouTubers I've seen have over 20 tabs open. It's crazy. So the first thing I recommend doing, closing out some of your tabs. It's pretty simple. If you have Windows, I recommend checking Task Manager just to see how much RAM you're using, to see how much CPU and GPU utilization you have while you're recording, so you know how much room you have to work with. Obviously, if you have a whole bunch of room to work with and you're still lagging, then it's probably not exactly, for instance, my computer lags when I record, but it always lags, so it's not like I can fix anything. It's just a little laggy normally. Especially, it loads things fast, it's just animations don't work the greatest, which is a sign of older hardware. This computer, it's a good computer, but it's old. It has a 3rd generation Core i7, and even though Intel Core i7 is pretty good, there's not just one Intel Core i7, there's 11 generations of Intel Core i7 desktop, and there's 11 generations of mobile, and there's more than one Core i7 per generation, typically, which is something you need to keep in mind, especially if you're going to buy a computer. I'm going to make a guide soon, just what computer specs I recommend, stuff like that, if you're just going to record Nitro-type or maybe other games. But yeah, you need to know your hardware, you need to know how much wiggle room you have. Next thing I recommend doing is clearing cache. It's super easy. You go to that. You go to Site Settings. I'm not going to go to that because it will ruin my Gmail. And the first thing listed is Clear Cache. You'd be surprised how much that can fix things. I notice a difference when I clear cache for Nitro-type. It's a little less laggy, and therefore it should look a little better in recording. The next thing you can do is, if it's still laggy, you need to go into your video recorder settings, or if you have Windows, go into your power settings. I guess that's something I should mention. Put it on high power. If your computer already runs hot, then I don't recommend putting it on high power because that's just going to make it run hotter, which will kill your system. Believe me, I had a Chromebook that died because it ran too hot one time. Actually, multiple times. It just built up over a course of several times. But yes, please make sure you're monitoring your thermals as well if your computer's overheating. Don't make the mistake I did. I lost a decent computer because of that. Even though this one's a whole lot better. Yeah, I recommend checking power and then going to your OBS settings. As you can see here, you can just go to your settings, and I can't actually change my settings now because I'm recording. So you have your general output and stuff like that. I don't recommend changing any of this stuff unless you really want to get into complicated stuff. Streaming is a whole nother world, but if you have stream issues, I can talk about in a different video. Output, I recommend for recording, if you have a NVIDIA GPU, meaning you probably have a higher end computer, do NVIDIA NVENC encoding. Now what that will do is will take pretty much no load on your system because it's a separate processor within your graphics card. Most of the time it's on the same graphics card die, but the cores they're separated. So it's one of it's for graphics, one of it's for video recording, or just doing other stuff. Because you can use NVENC for other stuff, or not NVENC, but the cores that run NVENC you can use for other stuff. Rescale Output 1080p. This, I believe you want to have at the resolution of your monitor. So even if you're not recording in 1080p, I don't record in 1080p, do that. Custom muxer settings, I would not mess with this. Rate control, CRF, I believe you can also do CBR. It's one of the two. CRF, the lower this number is, the higher quality of the recording. I have it set to 26. Typically you want it around 20 if you have a good computer, but I recommend if you lag, put it around 26, 30. Key intervals, I've heard you can change this to 2 and that helps, but I don't mess around with this. CPU usage preset. Higher is less CPU. I have mine on super fast. I couldn't do ultra fast or very fast. I probably wouldn't see too much difference. But like I said, this is the only computer I have until I get my new one. And this computer already gives me issues. And I really, really don't need it to die on me, because I have literally no other computers besides this one. I have a Chromebook. It works a little bit, but not really. Like I said, I killed it. Profile tuned. Wouldn't recommend messing with this. For this, if you're an OBS recording format, I recommend, if you're worried about your videos crashing, which if you have a slower computer, they probably will crash every once in a while, but it's important footage and you want to save it, record in MKV. And then once it's recorded MKV, convert it to MP4. It's super easy. There's like a custom mux thing. Actually, I can pull it up. Remux recordings. You can take your recording, you can copy it into here, and it will change it into MP4. You can download that instead. Super simple. Let's see, go to stream output recording. Nothing else you can really mess around with this. Audio, I don't recommend messing around with any of this. Replay buffer. You really don't need to put this on if you need to. And then recording, if you go to simple mode, which I can't do right now because I'm recording, it's just way simpler. And if you're streaming, go to simple mode and put your bitrate to like 2500 kilobits per second if you're having issues where it's not lagging for you, but it's lagging for the people watching. That means that OBS is either dropping frames because of your internet, or the servers aren't getting the correct frames, meaning probably your internet. So just adjust the bitrate, meaning how fast it's sending stuff, to 2500 kilobits per second. If that doesn't work, end the stream, restart the stream at maybe 3000 kilobits per second. I recommend doing an internet speed test too. Obviously, your bitrate cannot be higher than your upload speed times by 1000. I believe that's how that conversion goes, because 1000 kilobits per second go into a megabit per second. So if your internet upload is 5 megabits per second, then the maximum bitrate you can have is, I believe, 5000 kilobits per second. I don't know. It's one of the two. I'm not an expert. Audio, I wouldn't recommend messing around with this very much. Video, this is where it really matters. As you can see, base canvas resolution, put that at the resolution of your monitor. I doubt any of you are using a 720p monitor. Those are pretty outdated. 1080p, which would be 1080 pixels by 1920, which would be 1920 pixels. That's what that means. However, I record in 720p. I believe there's a different one you can set for the downscale filter to something better, which is bicubic, so like sometimes you'll see bigger gradients like this look a little cubed. And then this is where it really matters, is your FPS, the FPS you record in. I could record in 60 FPS, but that'd be a lot harder on my computer. So what I do instead is I record on 30. The reason I do this is because most YouTube videos are in 30 FPS and they look perfectly fine. So I recommend recording in 30 FPS if you don't care, and 60 FPS if you have the wiggle room. But obviously, if your computer's lagging, stick to 30 FPS, don't go below 30 FPS. If you need to, go down to 480p, it still looks fine. 360p if you really need to. Like Penguin Typer, he had to go to 360p when he streams, because computer lags so hard when it's streamed, it just can't, the combination of NitroType adding all these updates, these graphic updates, and Penguin's computer just being bad. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, Penguin Typer, pretty popular NitroType YouTuber, doesn't really upload much anymore, but his MacBook, it was an old Intel MacBook, it wasn't one of their new M1 Max MacBooks, it was an old one. It not a very good core processor, and it didn't have an NVIDIA GPU, so it couldn't record off that. It lagged really hard, and his streams, and he'd always be like, I don't need a new computer. And he's like, and everyone in the chat's like, yes, you do, man. Like, he didn't seem to understand that you don't need a gaming PC to record in good quality. Especially for NitroType, you really only need like maybe a $400 laptop. And I will be talking about what specs to get soon in a different video. But yeah, FPS is very important. Hotkeys, this isn't so much, this is not like to improve lag or anything, but this is something I recommend setting up if you get OBS. I did. So I no longer have to click into the OBS window to start recording. I can just do Control-Shift to start recording and Alt-Backspace to stop recording. Then advanced, don't mess with this too much. Process priority, you can change this to like higher or lower. Like if your computer, you can open up Task Manager and you go to, and if OBS, I don't know why it's 100%, I'm not doing much. If OBS is not, like if OBS is like way down here and there's a whole bunch of stuff running, you can prioritize OBS to run higher. That's what I recommend doing. As you can see, my computer doesn't like handling graphics and was like 100% trying to get Task Manager to open. Stream delay. This is important for streaming, and I'll probably make a video about stream settings soon. But stream delay, enable a stream delay. It will help your quality a little bit. The duration, I recommend doing about a 3 second to 5 second. If you have really fast internet and a really good computer, you can not have any stream delay, and that's going to be really nice. However, no matter what, YouTube does add on a little bit of stream delay. And then automatically reconnect if your internet maybe, like my internet doesn't go out, but I don't sit very close to the router, and I don't have Ethernet in my room, so I need to connect with Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is notorious for disconnecting every once in a while. It's just a thing, especially since this computer's Wi-Fi antenna isn't the greatest. I mean, it works, don't get me wrong, it works, but I don't trust it a ton. So I do a 5 second delay, and maximum retries is 40. I'll probably do like 50, because if it can like reconnect, there's no point in ending the stream. And then TCP pacing and all this stuff, don't mess with this. I would enable browser source hardware acceleration, because if you don't have a hardware acceleration on in Chrome, everything runs horribly. Like even on a good computer, it's not going to run very well. And then if you're recording an MKV, like I was saying earlier, so if it crashes, it will save what it's already recorded. MP4 does not save what it's already been recorded. And when I record I'm not going to record my 40K race, but if I record any like big milestones, I'm going to record it in MKV, so if this computer crashes, or the one I have then crashes, which I don't imagine it will, considering that the computer I'm getting is going to be pretty good, I recommend automatically remux to MP4, because YouTube is I cannot talk this evening. YouTube servers like process MP4 a little better, at least in my experience. They may not, but I don't know. That's just what I've seen. I probably should apply those changes. But yeah, that is pretty much it for things you can do to reduce lag. I can't really think of anything else. Just sit closer to the router if it's like an internet issue, but typically lag, or the screen freezes, that's not an internet issue. A lot of people think that lag is caused by your internet, and getting faster internet will fix things. That is not the case at all. Typically, if you lag from internet, isn't going to be like your screen freezing or stuff. It's going to be like audio lagging behind, stuff like that lagging behind. Whereas lagging from computer is going to be more of like a frame rate drop. So thank you all for watching today's video. Hopefully you find this helpful. I can't really think of anything else to say. See you all.